Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you. Welcome to Zoom on Tuesday nights.
I'm sure we'll have some more joining us soon, but we're going to go ahead and get started here tonight. We have you all muted for the time being, and we're going to just cover some things and go through our training, and then when we're at towards the end of it, we're going to allow enough time to let you unmute yourself and ask some questions. So it is set to where you can unmute yourselves as needed. We'll try to do just a few at a time, otherwise we'll have a bunch of feedback. But anyway, it's wonderful doing these Zoom meetings because we can do them from the comfort of our homes, and we can point the computer to the ceiling and everything if we don't want to show our faces, so I love that. What I'm going to talk about tonight is a little bit about management mode versus growth mode. And guess what? It's a real easy mode to get into. I found myself last year getting into that myself. That's what I've done most of my life. I've been a manager. I've owned my own business, so it was real easy. That was my comfort zone. What the definition is on management mode is basically working with your downline team at the exclusion of your own personal sponsoring. Building, on the other hand, is balance focused on personal sponsoring as well as mentoring and supporting your team. I grew real suddenly when I started the business, so I had a whole bunch of new people. And so I shifted into that management role, teaching everybody, teaching everyone and mentoring them, and I just found myself doing that almost all day long and taking away from my personal sponsoring. So my goal has been breaking that, and what you have to do, instead of focusing on motivating your team, you have to focus on inspiring your team. And I've made a few notes here. Basically, continue to grow your team by personally enrolling, by attending events with or without customers in tow, showing up on the opportunity calls and attending every meeting you can. I already said the events. Striving to hit your PV goals, and be in action every day and share publicly what those action steps are. You always want to be there for support, guys. But you know what? Get them in the first 30 days and help them launch their business. Help them build on that power of 3. Be there for them, but that doesn't mean you have to be there all the time. You've got to find that balance between management time and trying to help, and then still personally recruiting. You never want to leave the trenches of your own business. So I read somewhere kind of a chart that said if you have less than 100 people underneath you, that you should never spend more than 10% of your time in management mode. And it even goes up to if you have 500 people or less, you shouldn't be spending over 20% of your time. And that can go on up. But it would surprise me that with less than 5,000 people in your downline, you should not be spending more than 40% of your day in management mode. So basically what it's saying is be there, encourage, inspire, but don't ever leave the trenches, and don't ever personally stop recruiting for yourself. Trying to think. I will tell you that we've learned some different things, and we'll teach you as we go along, but limit your time when you're speaking with people. Identify your leaders, call them, see what they need help with, but don't feel like you've got to stay on the phone all day long. And that's a big thing in time management. I know we've taught some on that as well. So that's really about all I've got, just some tips. Stretch, get outside that comfort zone. Stretching is where your business will begin to really take off and build. So I'm going to turn the rest of the meeting over to Mr. Todd, because he's got a really important subject for you guys tonight.
Apparently she thinks I can talk for 56 minutes. Don't laugh, Kara. All right, so I'm going to talk to you tonight about what is a mindset, and I'm going to give you a definition. Everybody can hear me all right, I'm assuming? What is a mindset? I'm going to read this definition. Your mindset is the sum total of your knowledge, including your beliefs and thoughts about yourself and the world around you, and learned behaviors or patterns of thought. I kind of define it the same way as religion. I think that religion is a group of ideas that a group of people have agreed to believe or adhere to. Similarly, I've learned all these different behaviors that have set in my mind what it is I believe, and everything that I do is filtered through that belief system right there. Your mindset's a filter for everything that you think and that you express. Some people will call it the subconscious. It's always recording and analyzing everything that you experience. It remembers and it assigns an emotional response to every experience, both positive and negative. That was really key for me to understand right there, is if I had a traumatic experience happen to me 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever the number is, I actually am assigning an emotional response to that, and I can pull up that emotional response again at any time when I have that feeling again. I also have the capacity to go back to that event and assign it a different emotional response. It really is my choice to decide what to believe and how to feel about it. And I've got a little script right here that I've written, so I'm going to be reading some. Have you ever wondered why a certain song or maybe a phrase that someone uses, or if you experience a similar pressure that you experience on a regular basis, why does that trigger something in you, and why that causes you to respond the same way no matter how many times you've made up your mind that you will not go there again? That's happened to me 101 times. It could be a very simple thing. It can be a very big thing. But if I hit that point where a feeling or an emotion or an experience pulls me back to a place, there's a mindset and there's a memory attached to that. Your mindset is the totality of all your experiences, formulating and dictating your actions and reactions every day. I want to dive to the Bible here for just a second. How many of you have heard that or have said that life and death is in the power of the tongue? As for me, I've been raised in church, and I've heard that 10,000 times. But the truth of the matter is, the Bible does not say life and death is in the power of the tongue. It actually says the opposite. It says death and life are in the power of the tongue. The point is that the default pattern of my speech is death or negativity first, and then life are in the power of the tongue. It's that way chronologically. I don't think it's a mistake that it's that way. Likewise, Paul wrote to the Philippians, he said, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. In Christ we're dead, and then again have life. The point I'm making is that there is a collection of thought right here that we like to think is alive, but the truth of the matter is until it gets transformed, until it gets renewed, we actually have a mindset that is based on everything we've experienced. So if we don't change the experience, we don't change the mindset. I'm going to assume that most of you here would like to change some things about your mindset. Have you ever made up your mind that you're going to change a behavior, quit a habit, overcome a fear, only to find yourself circling that mountain again and again and again? And if we go again back to the Bible and say, what did the Israelites do? They went 40 years around the mountain. And what was the reason they went around the mountain? One word: unbelief. That's all it boils down to. I'm believing everything that's in here. Likewise, if I can't believe, then I will never achieve. And it could take me 40 years of wilderness wandering to get down an 11-day path. I want to talk to you about an example of a negative event or negative emotions assigned to them. Is that one muted or not?
No, it's not.
Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on real fast. It's not giving me the option.
I don't know that I can.
Hang on to me for 5 seconds. Here we go. Got it that time. All right. Think of an event in your life where an authority figure, a parent, a teacher, a coach, a pastor, a Sunday school teacher, openly and or repeatedly made you feel, either verbally or with actions, that you're not capable of or not worthy of something, that you're not going to measure up to it, or that you're never going to accomplish the thing. Now, with this experience fresh in your mind, imagine that is an event like a tree you've been planted in your backyard, and that tree is going to begin to grow. The feeling of that experience is now planted in your mindset, And as often as you were made to feel that way, that tree has been watered and it's going to grow. Am I making any sense? If you've got this negative thought process put in your head, it just keeps growing and keeps growing and keeps growing. What does every tree do as it matures? It begins to produce fruit. Now, if that's a fruit in my life, then I reach out to that tree and I start plucking fruit off of that tree and I start eating it. So I am producing in my own life everything that I'm thinking, and I'm reinforcing that with all the emotions that I have going on in my own life based on my experiences. A day will come in the growth of that feeling that you'll actually take over the watering. It won't be somebody else that's reinforcing the negativity. We'll come to believe in that negativity ourselves. And now, as I'm watering it and I'm growing it myself, I begin to believe it even more and more. And one more time. Did it?
It did.
It did automatically? Okay.
You like your train of thought.
Yeah. Now we have a collection of experiences that have formed a mindset in me, and I'm growing them. Years later, as an adult, it has become a mighty oak in my life, and it bears fruit. Another thing that I've experienced is this, or learned to believe, is imagine, if you will, if that tree is grown to a sufficient size, then it is actually larger than, say, just your own backyard. And that fruit is now hanging over into other people's backyards. And the people in the life around you are eating the fruit of your tree. And they are actually going to begin to feed back to you, or feed off of and give energy back to you that you are producing in your own negativity. I want to talk about Gregg Braden for a minute. Has anybody here heard of Gregg Braden? Wrote a book called The Isaiah Effect and several other great books. He talks about emotions. Can we finish something this way? Emotions may be considered the source of power that drives us forward to our goals in life. It is through the energy of our emotions that we fuel our thoughts to make them real. In itself, however, the power of emotion may be scattered and without direction. It is in the presence of thought that our emotion is given direction, breathing life into the image of our thoughts. This is real key here. Ancient traditions suggest that we're capable of only two primary emotions. One of those emotions is love, and the other emotion is whatever you believe the opposite of love to be. Most commonly, we would say that is fear. Thoughts. Thoughts may be considered the guidance system that directs our emotion. It is the image or the idea created by our thought that determines where our emotion and our attention are directed. Thought is closely associated with imagination. Of itself, thought has little energy. It is only the possibility with no energy to give life. In the absence of emotion, there is no power to make our thoughts real. The key here that I'm trying to get at is that what I'm feeling is the combination of what I'm thinking and the emotions that I have. And the combination of those two are what start the growing process in my mindsets. The definition of feeling. Feeling may exist only in the presence of thought and emotion, for it represents a union of the two. When we feel, we are experiencing the desire of our emotion merged with the imagination of our thoughts. Feeling is a key to prayer, as it is our feeling world to which creation responds. Right there, as he's noting, I completely agree. How many times have you felt something and say a fear of something and it comes to pass? I've seen that too many times in my life, whether it's a positive or a negative. And again, all these things are anchored in my mindset. I'm believing, I'm choosing to decide what is going to be fearful in my life, or what is going to be love, what is going to be mercy, what is going to be grace, what is going to be possible, what is going to be impossible. He goes on here. He says, as we attract or repel people, situations, and conditions that we find in our experience, we look to our feelings to understand why. He says, pain, however, is a feeling, the product of our thought fueled by our love or fear for what our mind believes has occurred. I'm not downplaying anything that's happened to somebody, but again, we're choosing to assign an emotion to that. And once I assign that emotion and I create that event, the memory, the feeling of it inside me, it just grows and grows and grows. And therein is my mindset. Transforming negative emotions. That is a key to success in your life. How many times have you let negative emotions ruin your day? A couple times. There are actually a handful of times every week that I'm a little sensitive. I know it's crazy, but I'm a little sensitive. And there's a handful of times every week that I have opportunity to experience negative emotions and give into them. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. I'm not trying to pass this off that I've got it all figured out, but I can definitely go there. Emotions can also pull you off track. They can dictate the outcome of your day. The real question is, can you turn a bad day into a great day? Do you know how to stop believing something that's been told to you? Do you know how to stop eating the fruit on a tree that's grown in your backyard that's not serving you well? You have an emotional brain as well as a logical brain, and that is part of the problem. As humans, we are creatures of habit, and we continue to repeat past patterns and past behaviors. Okay. How can I move? What can I do with all this information? How do I get out of the negative position, which I believe is the default position of humanity or the carnal mind, into a position of life or to a position of being positive? Number one, practice becoming aware of your emotions and your thinking. We all have habits. We all tell ourselves the same things over and over. Here's an example. I have a good friend who spent years repeating the same phrase again and again. If we had an hour-long conversation, 30 to 40 times in that conversation, I would hear her repeat, well, I don't know. And then she'd make a statement, a positive statement, an affirmation. She would say, well, I really want to do this, but I don't know. Or I really want to do that. Or I'd like to move here. And then she followed up with, but I don't know. And what I found after several years of watching that pattern, she didn't know. How are you ever going to know if you keep repeating the same thing like that over and over and over again? So what I'm saying is there was some self-doubt going on there that needed to be changed. It was a habitual pattern that she did over and over again. So I'm asking you to, I was actually taught this by an 11th grade English teacher. And it was to deal with our speech patterns. And growing up in Arkansas, we had quite a little country accent. And I came from Michigan originally, and I didn't have that accent when I moved to Arkansas. And so what he said resonated with me because I had a grandmother that just rode my butt all the time about not talking like a hick, quote unquote, no offense to anybody from Arkansas. But this guy, he would challenge you to analyze every word that comes out of your mouth. And he said, if you'll do that in 7 days, you can start to change your speech pattern. And I did exactly that. And I realized, I said ain't a whole lot, or instead of saying like that, T-H-A-T, I would say like at and skip the T-H because that's a common thing we did in that environment. So I started to change my patterns. I'm suggesting the same thing here. Can you step aside from yourself, so to speak, and listen to everything that you're saying and begin to identify a habit or a pattern that you're repeating all the time that is not serving you well? I've seen people say, even my own self, I would say for years, one day I will do, or one day I will be, or one day I will become, or someday this will happen, or someday that will happen. Well, someday or one day without an identifier like a goal or a time attached to it always takes what I want and pushes it off into the future. So my negative thought was somewhere along the line, I picked up the idea that it was all hope, that none of it ever became a reality, that it was always out there somewhere in my future. And it was a year and a half ago, that I finally switched my thinking and I stopped proclaiming that it's coming or it's out there or I'm going to one day or someday. And I began proclaiming that it's here and it's here right now. And for me, that was a financial statement. And this is not something that I'm bragging on by any stretch of the imagination. But when I shifted my speech, my income grew tremendously. And last year, we took 5 vacations in 4 months, something like that, because I started shifting to a present tense. I am. I'm not going to be abundant. Abundance is not coming to me. I have it now. So, and when I shifted that, everything around me shifted and aligned itself to what I was thinking on the inside. But I had to step out and analyze what I was saying, and I finally realized that I kept pushing it off into the future. And then when I pulled it into today, it happened today. So what are you repeating that is pushing things into your future or is not serving you well? A couple of ideas here. To start doing this, imagining that you are detached from yourself and you're watching yourself. You are like the fly on the wall and you're just in the room listening. Now, without judgment, observe your body language. Listen to your speech patterns. Make note of your habits. Search your mindset for the feelings that are responsible for the tree causing all that, and then uproot all those feelings. You have the power to do this. You will soon be able to release any of those negative emotions, and you will be able to cut that tree down. I really want you to know that I believe this is critical. I've said it to myself 100 times. I do not always abide by it. I try, and I get reminded by it by Kim sitting right here. I have a choice. It is up to me to choose what I'm going to believe or not going to believe. I can get mad. We've heard this said, you can get happy in the same pants you got mad in, right? It is really my choice to let that thing, that experience, that feeling ruin my day, or I can get over that. I can deal with that. I can confront that in love without judgment of myself, and I can let it go. And then I can harness my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions, and I can point them in the direction that I want to go, and I will actually get there. A little dive into some science here. Neuroscience has shown us that we live in a holographic universe where everything is connected and affected by everything else. So if a part of you created the emotion, then a part of you can uncreate it or change it. Does that make sense? If you've got responsibility in believing something for 25 years, you've also got responsibility in unbelieving something. And another thing that I've learned is the process of change will take as long or as short a time as you decide that it's going to take. I describe it this way to some people. Change is as fast as flipping a switch, like throwing the light switch on the wall. The problem is that there's a family of orangutans and a couple of NFL players and a few WWE wrestlers between you and the switch. And all of those represent your mindset. They don't represent real people in your life, but all those things are people, are mindsets that are wrestling with you. But if I decide that I want to wrestle because I have to prove to myself, or I have to earn repentance, or do something like that, then I can stretch that process out for a long time and continue to self-sabotage. Or I can decide to deal with it, deal with it in a non-judgmental fashion, love myself, exercise forgiveness, mercy, and grace towards myself, and I can cut that thing off at the kneecaps, and I can move on down the road, and I can turn my whole day around. I can turn my week around. I can turn my month, my life, and everything else around. Once you become aware of an emotion or a thought, you will become aware of what is happening to you, and you have the right to release the energy of it. Once the energy is released, you are no longer fighting the negative emotion, no longer falling prey to its powers to pull you off track. In its place, one of the keys to all of this is to remember that if I've dug up a plant in my flower bed, I now have a vacancy in the flower bed. So when you deal with something in your life, it is very, very important that you go back and put something positive in its place, so you're not just sitting there with a hole in your flower bed. So in its place of a negative emotion, I plant positive emotions, forgiveness, healing, grace, things like that towards myself. Now, I've got 6 tips here on how to change your mindset. And I kind of wrote some of this myself and plagiarized just a little bit. Number 1, get the very best information. You know, I never would have thought of that, but there's a lot of truth in that. What is the right information or the best information? The best information is read great books, study good ideas, promote growth, healing, self-worth. All those things are the right information, and they can come from a variety of sources. If you're reading blogs, or if you're reading books, or if you're watching videos, if you're attending conferences, those are all good information. The bad in getting the best information is this: do not overload yourself with so much information that in change you just become stagnated and you hit a wall. I'm guilty of doing that because I'm a little input nut. I just want as much input as I can get. I'm always reading and listening to something, and you can just find yourself mired down and you can't go anywhere. Again, don't over-focus on the mechanics of building the business. Keep a balance between that and personal growth, and you'll see some things begin to change. The nuts and bolts are important, but if you've learned how to assemble the perfect car but have no idea how to drive it or where you're going to go, you're just going to sit in the garage looking pretty, going nowhere. Do some personal growth and build a pretty car at the same time. Instead of trying to assemble a better car than the next guy, take the time to grow and to heal and to give of yourself to others. Helping others is a great way to find out the best information about yourself. Everybody who has been successful in the network marketing business has said the same thing, that this is a business of personal growth. We've heard Melissa say it. I've heard Terry say it. I've heard many other people say it. This is all about personal growth. I said it this last weekend. I guarantee you, you're going to have to face yourself in this business from the top to the bottom, everywhere in between. We've all got to stare at ourselves, and that's really what this mindset is about. 2, on changing your mindset, role model the best people. Find someone with a great mindset who has walked out some of this process and model what they did right. Adopt their thinking and adopt their mindset. Of course, not everything that everyone else does is right for me. So an old saying is to chew the chicken, spit out the bones. Take what you need from what someone else is modeling to you. We are not clones of each other, but we are a community of like-minded people, and we have the capacity to help each other heal and shift one another from speaking and thinking negative thoughts to speaking and thinking positive thoughts. So don't even hesitate to share what you have learned. Number 3, examine your current beliefs. Examine your mindset by looking at your current belief systems. Are your belief systems supporting you, or do you have self-limiting beliefs? I can tell you straight up that I have had a ton of self-limiting beliefs. I'm going to sidetrack off this for a second and go to an article that I read a number of years ago that I found to be very, very true. I'm going to hold up a ruler right here. And this article was about how much money a person is making. And so let's suppose that on this ruler right here, this number one represents how much money I really think that I'm worth. And I can go all the way down here and I can go all the way up here. And what will happen is my true belief about myself is dictating to me the performance in my life. And if I fall below what I really believe about myself, subconsciously I will engage in activity that will bring me back up to that level. Likewise, if I over-succeed, if I overshoot, if I do better than, without a change of mindset, subconsciously, I'll engage in sabotaging behavior that will bring me right back to the same place. I did that for a lot of years. I had a business partner for a number of years, and the business partner would repeat over and over and over and over, if it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not one thing, it's another. We just can't win for losing. And it got to where it seemed over a period of years, we just continuously had one problem after another. We just couldn't shake the problem. We couldn't get it to go away. Even today, I had a phone call, and I'm no longer with that business partner, but even today, I had a phone call from a recently completed job, and I had the most bizarre request from a general contractor, which didn't make a lick of sense. I've never been asked to do it. I've never been required to do it. We've never bid that process in. It's not in this bid that's already completed. It's not in the contract. And had the gall to pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, I need you to come out here and do $20,000 worth of work for free. What? No, I don't think so. I'm not going to do that. But the older people-pleasing side of Todd would have tried to find a way to make that happen without going broke. The healthier Todd says, hang on just a minute. This is a business transaction. This has nothing to do with me as an individual. No one's attacking me. I'm not going to internalize that. And I decided and said it out loud because I started to react to it. I decided that what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to feed energy into that and make this little bitty molehill become a mountain. And set it down and shut it out, and I spoke to it. I'm not going to have to go do that. Well, because it's not in my contract and it's not in my bid. There's nothing that anybody can do to me. I've done nothing wrong. I'm judging myself with mercy and grace. If you want that done, then you get to pay me to come and do that, and I will profit from that. That's a healthy mindset on my part. But I had to choose to think that way because my gut reaction was to get worried and think, oh my gosh, this is going to cost me $20,000. But those are self-limiting beliefs, and I've gotten past those self-limiting beliefs. Whether you know about self-limiting beliefs or not, they are working in your subconscious mind. To uncover your beliefs, ask yourself the best questions about where you want to go and what is standing in your way right now. One key is to examining those beliefs is changing them and declaring supportive statements about a new belief. Affirmations are a great way to do this as well because they reinforce beliefs. How do I examine a current belief? With the right questions. I had a gentleman call me today. We had lunch together yesterday, and we were talking. And I gave him an example, and he called me, and he left a message for me and said, I just want you to know that what you said yesterday, I found I was able to apply that in my life today. And it was simply this. He said, I started to build my business. Today I'm building Plexus, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I opened my laptop. My laptop was on the blink. It didn't want to work right. And immediately I defaulted to, oh gosh, I'm going to have to buy a laptop. Here we go. So there's some emotion in there that's dealing with, I don't have enough money to go do this, but I have to have this. And the question that we talked about yesterday is, what is it that you really need? And so here he is today saying, I need my laptop to build my business. Now, is that true? Do you need your laptop to build your business? I mean, we use our computers, right? But do I need the laptop to build my business? No. What I need is a form of communication, right? What I need is to express myself through a form of communication. And he realized that, so he shut his laptop, quit worrying about it, set it down, picked up his phone, and started calling people. So he didn't have to buy into what was going on in front of him. And at some point, obviously, he'll want to buy a laptop. But the point of the matter is, he didn't really need the laptop. He needed a way to communicate. So that's in the questioning. Ask the right questions. What is it that you really need? Here's an example of a really poor way to ask a question. And I'm sure that all of us have done this before, thought this way. Why does this always happen to me? Anybody thought that? I'm surely not the only one that's thought that. That question is only going to answer why you continue to get into the same situation that you're in. It won't tell you how to get out of it. That question is actually going to be a drain and reinforce the emotional baggage and the mindset. Instead, let's ask a different question. How can I learn from this and use what I've learned to change the outcome so that the next time I get the right outcome instead of the same broken outcome? That's a right question to be asking right there when you're examining your current belief system. This one right here, number 4, it really hit me pretty good because this was me for a long time. Do you have a real vision, or do you just like the idea of having a vision? Think about that for a minute. A lot of people lack a real vision. What happens is we hear a lot of things that we like about a vision or a goal, and we fall in like with the idea of it, but we never really develop our own personal why. Surely everybody here that has built any amount of momentum at all has heard at least a handful of people say, I'm going to be diamond. I'm going to be diamond tomorrow. I've got diamond vision. And 3 weeks later, absolutely nothing. 6 months later, absolutely nothing. That person that says that and goes nowhere is the person that has fallen in like with the idea, but has never developed their own real vision for it. They don't really have a goal, and they've never developed their own personal why. So I'm going to ask you, are you just in like with the idea of changing your mindset, or are you willing to develop a clear vision and a goal to tackle the things that are limiting you and holding you where you're at? Identify behaviors, identify limiting beliefs that you want to change, and then see yourself living fully in that changed behavior. Over the weekend at boot camp, how many people were there? 50-ish? Whatever the number is, we got a room full of people there. And I asked a very point-blank question. I said, how many people in the room are already diamond? And I'd say 6. Yeah, 1 hand goes up, 2 hand goes up. See, even right now, how many people are already diamond? It's not something that I'm going to accomplish. It's something that I am in here. And that was the point that I was getting. About 6 out of 50 people got that. So what I'm saying is, do I have the clear vision of being diamond? Do I have a clear vision of whatever the next rank is? Do I have a clear vision of going silver, gold, all the way up the chain? It is no different. Do I have a clear vision that I'm going to work, that I'm worthy to work, that I'm going to make this happen? And the making it happen is not so much in the nuts and bolts and mechanics. The making the business happen is in the belief that you actually can. If you don't believe it, love you, not going to happen. We're just having a great time together, but you're not going to be diamond. Ask yourself the questions, and it's a lot like peeling the layers of an onion, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, and then you're finally going to get down to the heart of the matter and find out what the real anchors are that are keeping you from moving forward. Here's another great one. Find your own voice. Surely a lot of us have been told we don't matter, your opinions don't count, maybe not even expressed in that specific verbiage, but we've been told that or taught that through the actions of others. One of the most beautiful things that you can do is to find your own voice. I'm going to quote Stephen Covey. He wrote a book called The Eighth Habit, and he says, to help you find your voice, ask yourself or answer these 4 questions. Number 1, what are you good at? He says, whatever it is that you're good at, that is your mind. Number 2, what do you love to do? Whatever it is that you love to do, that's your heart. Number 3, what need can you serve for others? He says, that's your body. He says, and finally, he says, what is life? Kill that one there. What is life asking of you? What gives your life meaning and purpose? What do you feel like you should be doing? In short, what is your conscience directing you to do? That is your spirit. Now, it's my personal opinion that your spirit is always at work inside you, and it's always at work outside you, connecting with others and connecting with opportunity and pulling it to you. I am a believer in the laws of attraction and things like that. So I'm real heavy into spirit. The last thing on this list of 6 here about it, changing your mindset, is to protect your new mindset. One thing you have to do is protect your mindset against the naysayers. People that have not left their current mindset do not want you to leave your mindset. Anybody experience that? I've had 25 years, that's no exaggeration, 25 years of someone that's been close to me doing their dead level best to drag me backwards into a mindset. It's been a fight and a fight and a fight and a fight and a fight. And finally, I realized that the more I fight that person, the more I'm giving attention and energy to the fight, and the more I just wade off voluntarily back into where they're trying to take me. So what I had to do was just cut it off. We're done. I'm not even talking about it anymore. You pick up the phone and call me, click, we're done. I've got nothing to say. Until you come to where I'm at, there's nothing left to talk about. I have got to protect the mindset that is changing inside me. You need to protect it against bad information, against overload. Again, if it is a default position of my nature to go to negativity first and then to speak positively, we actually need to learn how to be positive instead of being negative. Now, with all that being said, that's everything that I've gotten written down. And according to the clock that I'm looking at, I have used up most of my time to talk about that. And we're going to open up to some questions here in a minute. So what does all of this mean to the Plexus business? I want to talk big picture for just a moment. What I saw happen last year when I went to a convention is I realized that we're not just a couple of nuts out here driving up and down the road, handing out a couple bottles of pink stuff, okay? This really is a big deal. There's something really big happening. And what I also realized, the business side of me, is that we've got epidemics or near epidemics of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disorders. And we have in our hands an opportunity to tell people, to help people, to share with people products that are changing lives, period. If you can't see that in your mindset, then you're not going to share. That's all there is to it. So can you see that? I'm going to encourage you. I'm assuming that a fair amount of us that are on the Zoom meeting are going to be there. If there's still opportunity, I don't know if there is, be at the convention. It's absolutely fantastic. It will blow your mind if you haven't seen one. But that is the bigger picture in the mindset where Plexus is concerned. What it is that we believe is exactly what we're going to achieve. And what I'm seeing in the achievement of Plexus is that we are as a whole developing a very healthy mindset. What I'm also seeing more than healthy bodies is that people around us are healing, and that is absolutely fantastic. Not just the body, but the healing in mind, healing in emotion, and so on. So there I'm tied in, and we're going to unmute. Does someone have a question? Yeah, unmute yourself if you got a question or a comment. Anybody?
Denise James.
Hello, Denise.
Oh, okay. I'm doing this, so forgive me on the muting and all that stuff.
You're doing
Okay. My question is, I've been a social worker for more than I like to say, but not a social worker now due to cancer. Okay, enough said on that. Just wanted to give you a little. What the thing that my question is that, and please don't take offense to this, I'm the people pleaser that you just mentioned. And what if the people, I'm trying not to cry. I know that people don't want you to change.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep pulling you back.
Right.
Okay. But those people, like you said, take the phone and hang it up. But those people are your adult children. I'm so sorry for crying.
You're fine.
Adult children that don't or won't contact you because they're used to me being, sick with cancer or sick, whatever.
Right.
What if it's your adult children is what I'm trying to say. You just can't kick them out of your life.
No, you can't. I agree with that 100%. If I can bail in here,
I'm not trying to be a ball baby.
You're not. You're doing great, Denise. Here's what I would say to you. I have learned that people around me are projecting towards me how they really feel about themselves. In other words, if you say something to me and I get irate, it strikes a nerve in me. We've all had that nerve struck before where someone says something and just bam, it hits an emotion in me, and I'm ready to fight or cry or whatever the emotion is. When that happens, what's going on is I'm identifying with something in that person, and likewise, they're likely identifying with something in themselves that they don't like. So let's assume for a moment that they've got a feeling of unworthiness because they're incapable of curing your cancer because they love you, right? And
good point.
And that unworthiness could very well prompt a fight because now inside them, they've got that negative emotion that is assigned to an event or an experience, and that's what's governing their mindset. So they take that negative emotion and they put it out there, and that just gets projected back at you. And the next thing you know, you're buying into or being told to buy into or asked to buy into that emotion. You, again, have a choice to stand up for your own self-worth, to forgive yourself, to love yourself, to say, I'm worthy, and I don't have to be treated this way. If you choose to treat me this way and to see me this way, that's your call. Does it hurt? Yes. Is it painful? Is it unfair? Very much so. But ultimately, you've got to decide that you're going to stand up and that you're going to be healthy regardless of what anyone around you does. That's really the battle that I had to fight and come to that conclusion, that I've got to be healthy. Do those children deserve healthiness? You darn skippy they do. Pray for them. Let's get healthy. Let's get some healthy emotions. Let's change some mindsets. But if they choose not to, you're not walking away from them. They are standing in the same place, doing the same thing. And we'll go to, let's go to aircraft and let's go to ships. If I'm on an aircraft, what does the safety speech tell me to do? We've all heard it 10,000 times. If the oxygen falls from the ceiling, the first thing I'm going to do is put it on my head first, and then I'm going to put it on my kid's head, because if I'm incapacitated, I can't help them.
Right. Thank you.
If I'm on a boat and we start to capsize, I'm putting my life preserver on first, not neglecting my child, but I'm putting it on first to save my own butt so I can at least swim so I'm not drowning and help you and get yours on. Because if I become incapacitated again, I can't help anybody.
Right.
Never feel guilty for standing up for what's healthy for you.
Yes, I made jabs at this by, well, I'd really like to hear from you. Graduation is in 2 weeks, and I will get the motel reservations, but I don't want that to upset you. I don't want you to think I'm taking over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just exhaust them and myself. Now, this isn't a text.
Right.
We don't talk.
Right.
This isn't a text. And text to death, you know. Hope you're having a wonderful, God bless day. Expecting, selfishly on my part, them to say, hello, Mom, how are you? Just once in 6 months would be nice.
Right.
I'm getting nothing. I feel like I'm giving all, and I'm
I've seen a lot
person.
of parents deal with that with their children. And likewise, I have two boys, and I went through that kind of hell for about 5 years with one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really get how that feels as a parent. But I tell you something that a minister walked up to me one day and said, and we went through a horrible divorce and all kinds of junk. And this guy walks up to me one day and says, look, bud, I've been where you're at. I know how it feels. But here's what you got to do. You do the best that you can today with everything that you got in front of you today. And the Bible says that there's going to come a point in time when God will turn the hearts of the sons back to the fathers. And I don't believe that's gender specific. I think that is a whole thought process of turning hearts back. And we find that the prodigal son had to get to the end of his road. Those children have got to get to the end of their road. And if it takes them 25 years to get to the end of a road, then it takes 25 years. And those 25 years can really suck. But you have a choice to buy into all that and continue to live with that tree growing in your backyard, feeding you all that negative fruit, or stand up and be healthy and whole. I've done what I'm supposed to do. I'm healing. I'm open to suggestion. I'm open to relationship. And if you choose not to have one that's healthy, I just have to love you from over here.
Thank you.
And it's
that's very true.
It's a very simple
love
thing.
them anyway.
But what you're saying is a good demonstration of how we get tangled up in thought processes that are unhealthy for us, and we become like if I could say it, a rat on a wheel. And the faster the rat runs, the faster the wheel moves. The faster the wheel moves, the faster the rat has to run. The faster the rat has to run, the faster the wheel moves. It's a vicious cycle that doesn't stop. And at some point, the rat gets thrown off the wheel goes flying one way, the rat's laying over in the corner with, his heart beating 1,000 beats a second. And out of habit, we get back up, we stand our cage back upright, we get back on a reel, and we start paddling all over again.
Yes.
Instead of saying, hey, let's just stop right here and let's examine, let's ask some questions, let's find out what's right and what's wrong about this situation, and let's change my mindset. Because every one of the people involved in your situation have a God-given right, and in my opinion, a God-given duty to be healthy, individually first. Because if I can't be healthy as an individual, I can't help you.
Yes.
The only thing I can do is pass on my dysfunction.
Yes. That's on what?
Okay. Yeah. The only thing if I'm not healthy, the only thing I can do is pass along my dysfunction.
Oh, my dysfunction.
Yeah.
I think that's what I did.
Hey, we're all guilty of that. Do not beat yourself up. If I've answered your question, I'm going to mute you and ask if there's any other questions.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and God bless you.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Tell her she's welcome to stay on the line after everybody gets off.
And yeah, Denise, if you want to send me a message or stay on the line and chit chat a little bit more, we'd be happy to do that. We are down to 6 minutes left, so we're going to tie that up. And anybody else want to add anything to tonight? How about the Lindleys? Do you have something to add?
Sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir? This is Denise again.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how to get a hold of you all. I heard your name was Todd.
Yeah, just stay on the call when we're done, and I'll give you my number. How's that?
Okay, I'm muted. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Kara.
I just want to say you did a fantastic job, and mindset is so very important, not only to Plexus, but to anything that we, anything that we desire, happiness, success, and no matter what we're doing, your mindset is just so important, and we can change our mindset. It takes practice because we have all those old tapes in there of what we've been taught and told our entire lives, and everybody has this, but we also all have the power to change that. And it's very interesting, it's very powerful, and I challenge you to examine yourself and your mindset, because it can totally change not only the course of your business, but the course of your life if you'll change your mindset to positive and uplifting, and surrounding yourself with the right people and putting in the right stuff into your mind, because garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Good in, good out. So outstanding job, Todd and Kim, both.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'm going to forego the last 4 minutes if everybody's happy. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And it was a pleasure to talk to all of you. Thanks for listening to everything that I had to say. And there is absolutely nothing that I am talking about here that is, what's the right word here? I'm no guru. I'm just a guy who started paying attention to what's going on. And my life has changed. So can yours. Love you guys.
God bless, Todd.
Thank you.